The topic of dual citizenship or dual nationality causes much controversy worldwide, and scholars like myself would say that citizenship is an agreement between a government and an individual or a group of people. And that's true. That is the definition of citizenship. And would also tell you that nation states are a relatively young concept that has been developed in the 19th century. So, those are all facts. Nevertheless, the nation state is practical today because it is what most people are used to. In the time of empires, that means before the British Empire, during the 19th century you still had empires, but the nation state was in development. Before the British Empire, you had the Spanish Empire. Well, actually, before 1826, it was mostly the Spanish Empire, where you had this concept of nationhood, and citizenship was based on you belonging to the Spanish world. And it didn't depend on you actually being of Spanish descent, because Spain was a collection of ethnicities and a multitudes of peoples. You could also be an Arab that was born in Spanish territory and spoke fluent Spanish, and you are a Spaniard also. In some cases, you have Spanish citizenship. Nationality is a claim. Understand this. Citizenship is an agreement between you and the government. Nationality is a claim. By whom? It's a claim of a group of people on exclusive treatment. Let me explain. Citizenship is an agreement. For example, the Apostle Paul was a Roman citizen. That means he was born with this agreement on his behalf between him, his community, and the Roman government. It went like this. The Roman government made sure that the roads were functioning, that criminals were off the streets, that aqueducts were working, so there was fresh water everywhere, and in exchange, Paul was requested to, or actually demanded to, pay taxes and to comply with Roman law. And he was also expected to contribute to the welfare of Roman society. So that is what citizenship is. It's an agreement. You can inherit this agreement. In this case, you haven't given consent to it, but you receive it by birth, or you can pay for it by purchasing it. Now look, citizenship is not dependent on your ethnicity or your culture. It's just an agreement. You can live in, let's say, Zimbabwe, and you're a Buddhist, but you are a Zimbabwean citizen. So that means that this agreement between you and the government is still in force. So citizenship is just an agreement for practical cooperation. Nationality is a claim of a group of people in which they demand exclusive treatment for themselves. That's nationality. So if you say you are an American citizen, you're actually saying that you are in agreement with the United States government and you get protection and benefits in exchange for your allegiance. If you say that you are a British national, you're actually saying is that you are subjected to the claim of the British people. And this claim includes, or this claim is as follows. You are part of the British people, therefore the British people have a right to demand things from you, and you are obliged to give in to what they demand. And the British people even have the right to kill you when they want to. That is what nationality comes down to. Nationality is you acknowledging the right to violate and kill you to a group of people. You can check and even challenge any group of people that takes advantage of you. But you're not allowed to do it with your own group, because that group is your God. That is what nationality comes down to. Now, it used to be like this, that empires and kingdoms had nationals and republics had citizens. Now, that difference is not practical anymore, because you have both monarchies as well as republics that have both nationals as well as citizens. Some citizens are not nationals. Others are nationals, but due to some complex situation, are not citizens. So I don't want to make this too complicated for you. Just understand it as follows. A national is when a group of people claim your life and you agree with their claim. Citizenship is when you are in agreement with a governing body in which you get benefits in exchange for your allegiance. Allegiance doesn't mean that you agree with everything the governing body is doing, but it means that you at least acknowledge them as legitimate. And it's this acknowledgement of legitimacy that enables them to act on your behalf. I hope this is clear. Now, why then does dual nationality or dual citizenship lead to so much controversy? When it comes to citizenship, people may think, well, you may have dual citizenship though to your ancestry or whatever. People don't bother much with it. But it comes to nationality. Here's where the problem comes in. And for most countries, your citizenship is bound to your nationality. In some places, I dare to say most places, you can't be a citizen without being a national. Those two are not that separate anymore, nationality and citizenship. So, here it comes. If you have a group of people that want an exclusive claim, you, being a national, means that you get along with the exclusive claim of those people, which includes the right to take your life. So it's a spiritual thing. If now you belong to two nationalities, if you have two nationalities, that means that you give two groups the right to take your life. You give two groups the right to rule over you. That's what it comes down to. So the nationality thing is to appease commoners, because commoners don't trust one another. They want relief by having control. So when you're a national of a country, that means that the people of that country have a right to control you. That is what it comes down to. When you are abroad, you are protected by the government of that people only because they have the right to control you. It's only the right to control you collectively that makes you legitimate in their eyes. It goes like this. Let's say you have an American citizen or American. They don't often say American national for some reason, but let's say you have someone with American nationality and he is in Cuba and he is in danger. He's being set up. Now, the United States has an agreement with its citizens that if you're abroad and you're in trouble, the American military will come wherever you are to rescue you. In exchange, this man is expected to tolerate all exploitation he goes through in the United States. Why? Because that is his part of the bargain. He needs to be loyal by having his allegiance to the United States government. That means tolerating the BS of the American people, so allowing the American people to get away with a lot of stuff, but that's how he proves that he is an American. If he also has the Spanish nationality, now he has more options. Now, when he's in the United States and the people aren't considering him as anything important, he can go to Spain. And in Spain, he can open his own company, he can marry, he can do whatever he wants over there because he's a Spanish national. So now he has benefits in Spain and at the same time he has benefits in the United States. But here's where the problem comes in. Whenever the American people demand things from him, he can say, no, I'm not doing that. And if the American people begin to persecute him and the authorities who want the population at ease decide that they are going to use common law to appease the people, you can say, no, I move to Spain. There you have civil law. And under civil law, you don't just appease the people by allowing them to victimize someone. Under common law, that happens. So now, he can just remove himself from the common law jurisdiction and then go to the civil law jurisdiction. And now, the people in the United States who want to exploit him are now upset because they don't have a target. And when they don't have a target, they will turn on each other there in the United States. So then he will leave the United States with troubles. And then the people in the United States will have to deal with the mess. But if he was just an American citizen, he only had American nationality, what would happen? If people would turn on him, he has no choice but to tolerate the BS and get along with them. Why? Because he's American. It's the other way around also. So let's say he has both a Spanish as well as an American nationality. If he, in Spain, is required to tolerate a regime that he doesn't want to tolerate, he can just go to the United States and say, I'm in the United States now, the land of the free. And then he doesn't have to get along with the expectations of the Spanish people anymore. So, dual nationality gives you more options. It gives you a place to bargain because you have more options, you can do more, and you can negotiate. If you only have one nationality, there's not much for you to negotiate. But the problem is, when you have more options, when you have the ability to bargain, and others around you don't have the same ability, what's going to happen? They'll turn on you. And here's another thing. There are people that you can't trust with options. Some people cannot be trusted with options. Why? Because they'll abuse those options and they'll take advantage of others. Let's say you have Katrina and she is married to Bob. Katrina now doesn't want to work on herself. She doesn't want to face herself. She just wants to find another man to forget about everything. She is married. She can't just do that. If she cheats on Bob, he can ask for a divorce and she gets nothing. She'll be a divorced woman that cheated with a bad reputation, and that will limit her options further to get another man. So now she wants to play the victim, pretend as if Bob abused her so that she can get away without losing the options. When she plays the victim, she knows a lot of men will have sympathy for it. She will have more options to find another man. If Katrina only has the United States passport, if she's only an American national, what's going to happen? She'll have to abide by the laws of the state she's in. And if she plays the victim over there, and in the United States, they find out, hold on a minute, you're just playing the victim, lady. We're not going to take this. What's going to happen? She will have to either reconcile with her husband, or she may still get a divorce she wants, but she'll have to deal with the consequences, and she may be prosecuted for wasting time of the Bacon courthouse. If she, for some reason, finds a guy online, and she managed to get a Japanese passport, what's going to happen? She has a Japanese passport, so she's a Japanese national also, even though she's not from Japan. What's going to happen? When she wants to get rid of her husband, she can just go to the Japanese embassy, marry over there, because it's Japanese territory over there. She can marry some Japanese guy, and then at the same time stay with her current husband, and one day the husband arrives at home and she's gone. She's taken away everything. She plundered their bank accounts, so now the husband is robbed. And then, when people are looking for her, they can't find her. Why? Because she took Japanese nationality under a different name. So it's going to be hard for people to find her. Or she did it on her own name. In any case, she has dual nationality, so she has multiple options. And what happened here? Here you have a narcissist who took advantage of more than one option. It happens that people use the options they have to make things hard on others so that they can have relief. And the pagan courthouses of this world, as well as the world leaders, they know how commoners are. That's why most countries do not allow you to have more than one nationality. Neither United States nor Japan allows you to have more than one nationality. In the United States, it happens anyway because they tolerate it for business purposes. In Japan, it's not going like that. You're either Japanese with Japanese nationality, that means that you depend solely on the government aid of Japan, or you have the nationality of another country and then you depend solely on the assistance of the government of that country. Japan does not allow you to be both a Japanese national as well as a national of another country. Because the Japanese leaders want you to have loyalty and faithfulness towards Japan. And the only way to secure this is when you don't have any other option but Japan. Then you have no choice but to be faithful and loyal, unless you want to ruin things for yourselves. But the moment you have more options, and you decide to be narcissistic about it, then you can take advantage of them at their expense. And you can also take advantage of the Japanese people. So it's also a protection towards the domestic population that they govern. The reason why the commoners tolerate and see the government as legitimate is because somewhere the government benefits them. So they need to offer a symbolic sign that they are behind their people. That is why in Japan, you're not allowed to have dual nationality. And there are many people that agree with this. And I can understand perfectly why Japan doesn't allow it. Because you have many people who otherwise would take advantage of it. Don't you know that in Japan, a lot of people are ghosting one another? There are even professional services that you can hire to help you ghost your job, ghost your spouse, ghost your family. So you have Japanese people that suddenly disappear without telling anyone anything, and they end up living somewhere else in Japan under a new name, living a new life. You have husbands leaving their families behind, wives doing the same also. You have children ghosting their parents. You have people ghosting their employers. Sometimes you have employers ghosting their staff. So it happens within Japan that a lot of people ghost one another. And you have people that help you to move your stuff, even to get the false papers. Just do it. Of course, you can't do it openly because then they would be violating the law, but it happens. Imagine all those Japanese people that are hurt because a loved one ghosted them, because a loved one was so selfish and narcissistic they just wanted relief and they dumped their whole family. What if those people had more than one nationality? Now they only have Japanese nationality, and even then, they're not trustworthy. What if they had more than one nationality? What would they have done? They would have gone much further. Now, why have I spoken about nationality in this video? Because believers need to understand that the leaders of this world, as well as the pagan courthouses, they use logic and they use common sense. They don't use blind faith. They don't use, how would I say it? They don't use principles and all that. They use practical common sense. They know that if commoners are allowed to flee, they will flee. They know that commoners tend to ghost other people and leave others behind with both emotional, mental, sometimes even financial damage. And they know that this damage will escalate if this happens too often in society. That's why they make laws and regulations to limit the options of commoners. Because they know that commoners in general are not trustworthy when it comes to having so much options. Now, do I agree with all the laws and regulations that those pagan courthouses enforce? No, absolutely not. First of all, they're pagan. It goes against Christ. That's one reason to reject it all. But I understand why they make those laws and regulations. Believers should be more practical, we should have more practical common sense than the pagan courthouses. We should outsmart the pagan courthouses. Just like the pagan courthouses will not allow you often they won't allow you to have more than one nationality, because their jurisdiction as a pagan courthouse depends on your nationality. If you're from another nationality, you are entitled to the assistance from another jurisdiction. So if you have jurisdictions that have different expectations, now you will have a fight to and fro all the time. And now criminals can use that in their advantage. So pagan courthouses aren't dumb. Neither should believers be. Understand the following, believer. You cannot grant access to you to everyone. Of course you don't do this. Naturally, no human being does this. Still, I need to say it. You can't grant access to you to everyone. Even the people that you consider close to you, you need to watch them carefully. Not carefully sounds a bit fearful. You need to watch them with an open eye. Are they in line with Christ? Are they unlearning negative thinking patterns? Are they in movement? Do they have things going on for them? Check those you are involved with. Make sure you don't grant too many options to people who aren't willing to be responsible with those options. I'm not telling you to control others. I'm not telling you to blackmail others. No, I'm not telling you to do any of that. I'm telling you to use practical common sense. And you should have more practical common sense than the world. Unfortunately, I see pagan courthouses having more common sense than many believers. Because those believers don't walk by faith. What's more abominable is that many of those believers trust the pagan courthouses who worship Apollo. What? And they allow those sodomite masons govern them. Lord have mercy. Believers, if even the pagan courthouses of this world, where those politicians were often nothing more than actors, if even they have practical common sense when it comes to restraining these worldlings, then how can it be that you don't outsmart them? Yes, you're in the world, you're dealing with worldly people, but just because you're dealing with them doesn't mean you have to entrust yourself completely to them. Just realize that they're not in Christ. Realize that they have a black and white thinking as their base. Realize that they are in cycles. Just realize that they are seeking relief. So how can you entrust yourself to them completely? Are you out of your mind? Agree with Christ, believers, and be at peace.